Thanks for joining Sales with Suli, a mom of three who spent the last 12 summers knocking doors. Welcome to my podcast where I talk about all things women, the ups and downs of my journey, and what it takes to find success on and off the doors. Enjoy this episode. Hey, and welcome back to this week's episode with Sales with Suli. I am excited to have a bunch of young bucks here with me this week. Being 37 years old, having been in the door-to-door space for 14 summers, there are only a few things that I am envious about. And one of those things is meeting and seeing you 19, 20, 23, 24-year-old women and who find the door-to-door space and happen to stumble across solar. I wish that I would have found this space at your guys' age. And so this week we're going to hear from the perspective of just different age groups and women being a part of the space and kind of like what it looks like for them. And so I'm excited to have Adle and Belle here with us today. I'm going to have you, we'll go ahead and start with Miss Gen Z.
Miss Gen Z.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you. Like, how did you get into the door-to-door space?
Awesome.
But first, you got to tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. Well, my name's Adle, like we already said. I'm 21 years old, Mrs.
Are you
Gen
21
Zer.
and single?
21 and single. Yes, I am.
For all you men in my DMs
Ready
talking
to
about
mingle,
who's
maybe,
single.
maybe not. We'll see. Hashtag Gen Z. Hashtag giving very much single.
Okay. How'd you get into the door-to-door space?
I used to work at the gym previously. So basically I actually had a lot of people come into the gym wanting, like in groups, whenever they would go on blitzes. I'm like, hey, what are y'all doing here? And they're like, yeah, we're just selling solar. We're actually from California. Yeah, I forgot to tell you that earlier.
Yeah. So you just randomly, like, you see groups and you're like, where are y'all from?
Yeah, I asked them. I was like, what are y'all doing? Because they're like, it was a group of literally like 8 to 10 people. And I was like, why are they all here in a group working out on like a Tuesday afternoon?
Yeah.
At like 12 p.m. Like, what's going on
Like, who's
here?
not at work right now?
Yeah, I'm like, what? Yeah, they told me that they were doing solar. And then after that, a week later, I got it recruited by somebody. So
At the gym?
Yeah.
Okay, pro tip for those of you guys looking for ways to recruit. If you don't have a booth or not showing up to your gym with protein bars just to approach people and recruit them to come, you guys are missing out, because that is exactly how Adle was recruited. Was someone had the guts to open their mouth at the gym, and 10 months later she is still with the same company, knocking doors, setting appointments. Belle, tell us a little bit about you, just because you've come from one industry to another. Like, tell us how you originally got into door-to-door and why you're in solar now.
Yeah. So I started out when I was like maybe 18, 19. I actually sold pizza cards door-to-door.
Stop it.
Each one was like $10, and I got to pocket every single $10.
Wait, but then how'd you get these pizza cards if you got to
So
pocket?
what we did is, so my mom was one who started it originally. And what she would do is she would give us a whole bunch of pizza cards, and then we would go and sell them door to door.
Huh. But how was, okay, now I'm over here like the business side, but how was she profiting if you got to keep the full $10? What was in it for her?
I think that because she would buy them in bundles.
Got it. So she bought it. Okay.
That makes sense.
And so it was just go into it. So when we wanted to go and do something, we had to sell pizza cards. If we wanted to go on vacation to earn our spot, we had to sell pizza cards. It was super, super cool. But that's kind of what got me started. And then I went on my mission. I always count that as kind of like a way, like I started an LDS mission.
Okay.
And I consider that a big start of like the door to door, because it's very much like that. And then when I got back, my brother had been selling, and he told me how much he made, and I was like, oh, fuss. I was like, I got to make just as much as him or more. And so went to go sell with him, and then I went from that to pest control to alarms. And then I always was so afraid of going to solar, because I feel like everyone was like, oh, there's no point of doing it. It doesn't work. It's a harder sell. And so I always wanted to go to solar. And then this last year I was like, okay, let's go all in. And we did. And we're still here.
It started from and we still here.
For real.
Okay, so something fun and like unique. So yeah, we're all in the same company. There's a bunch of women, but you two specifically are on teams where you guys are literally the only women on your guys' actual team. So Adle, I kind of want to hear from you. Like, how are you navigating being on a really big male-dominated team, and then also being as young as you are? Like, how are you navigating your social life, being in a new space and industry, and also just being the only female on your team?
Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible, but I won't lie. It's definitely times where they're obviously having their big groups and they're being just boys. I'm like, okay, can I leave now?
Yeah.
Like, the doom and glooms are kind of bad sometimes. Like, all right.
Yeah.
This is why I'm not late all the time.
I don't even want to guess. So what doom and glooms are, so for those of you who don't know what doom and gloom is, so basically in our company, if you show up late, everyone texts to the leader something that person who showed up late has to do. And it could be anything, but the catch is if it's something like so bad and everyone votes on it, the person who suggested that has to be the one to get up and do it. So typically you just don't want to show up late because you never know what embarrassing thing you're going to have to do in front of everyone. So Adle is saying that she never shows up late because the things that the men on her team are doing is kind of
the one time I did, I just shotgun a Red Bull, so it wasn't terrible. It was more energy for the doors, so we're all good.
Nice. So what else? So how are you like navigating, and like who are you relying on? And
I definitely rely most on P-Boy. I feel like if anything, just because I am the only girl, then sometimes I'll reach out to some of the guys, like when I want to knock with them, depending on, especially now, going into the summer, now that we have more time on the doors and it's a lot later.
Yeah.
If anything, I mostly rely on social media, like if I need more perspective on women type of stuff. So,
So you kind of just like reach out to different people like through social media.
Yeah, and then or I'll like look at like stories and stuff. I like Melissa Remise's content.
We all love Melissa.
Yeah. I'll definitely look at her stuff. So little things like that. Other than that, the rest of the work doesn't really bother me just because I know I'm there for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? But if I want like little support like that, or when I do see women at the meetings, like I'll definitely talk to them.
Yeah. No, I love it. And again, so this week with having you guys here in like a community that so many of us women who've been in the space for so long, like we recognize the importance of being able to have community, and it doesn't matter like what polo that we're wearing or what company that we do work for. That's kind of like our purpose and why you guys are here for these next like 4 days during our women's leadership retreat. So thanks for being here. But you, Belle, having navigated, multiple industries, being a little bit older, like what are some of the struggles and how are you overcoming some of those things, literally being the only woman on your team?
I think for me is I have to go and take in consideration that I am working for myself and me alone. So like when I go out to work, it's not impacting the guys that I'm going and working with. It's like impacting myself. So if I don't make a paycheck, they're not going to go and be like, oh, like you didn't make a paycheck. That's me. That's all me. So I feel like going and taking accountability that even if I'm in an environment where it's all guys, and even though it is hard, it comes with a whole new like challenge of being like, okay, like I really need to show up.
Yeah. I actually think that there's benefits to it. Like, I'll be honest, early on in my door-to-door career, I definitely relate to men more than I do with women, because I'm just the type of person like, okay, like let's suck it up, let's move on, do what we got to do. So I appreciate the men who kind of just they don't look at us any different. It's just kind of like, hey, I treat the boys this way, I'm treating you this way, to nothing against you, like this is just our nature.
To kind of add on to that, I feel like that definitely does help, just because as a woman, I'm already emotional. I already have that time of the month where I'm more emotional anyways, right? So definitely having that type of support definitely helps a little bit. Just because of the emotion side of things, I'm like, all right, let's suck it up today. Don't let that get in the way right now.
No, 1,000%. Like, there's definitely a lot of people who look at being on an all male team as negative. But for me, it's just kind of like sports and everything else. Like men are just built a lot differently and they are good at a lot of things. I feel like by us being in that dynamic and in that space, we just have a tendency to level up because one, we want to keep up, or two, we want to pass them.
It's a very competitive.
Yes. I mean, like Belle is over here like on a competition and she called me last night. I don't know if I'm coming. I want to beat this guy. And I'm like, the hell you're not. Your ass is getting on a freaking plane.
Hey, and we got to close.
Yes, and we gotta close. So there is definitely a lot of good things for being on teams where men are the majority. We just have a tendency to level up. What are some tips, Adle, that you would give to girls who are your age who are looking into the door-to-door space and kind of just fear safety and fear, you know, being on a team and not having anyone to relate to? Like, what are some tips and feedback that you would give to other women?
I mean, I personally definitely have like some type of pepper spray more than likely, but I mean, if with the nervousness, like, don't get me wrong, I love knocking alone, but if there's times like that, I do reach out to people because they're more than welcome to help you. So I think it's just more of a stigmatism and a fear type of thing. But other than that, just really finding somebody that you can knock with at times and just having some type of little protection.
Yes, I'm so glad that you said that, Adle, that you take the initiative to reach out. Like, there are so many people like in this space who will basically just suffer in silence. Like, for the most part, most leaders in door to door, they have the best intentions. There are over 25 to 40 people on a team, and the managers aren't always going to be able to read our minds. And so I'm one of those like women who, they're going to hear from me. They're going to know from me if I need something and things like that. So I definitely, as a tip for those of you women who are struggling, for those of you women who are confused or who don't feel safe, if you don't have the confidence to be able to open your mouth and ask for help or for support, like, how do we expect the men to help us if they don't know what we need help with?
Yeah, that exactly. And more on a leader side too, I feel what made me more comfortable is I did have the leaders that did take the initiative to reach out to me at first.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think that's very much needed in order for me to get comfortable and then
I agree.
And then of course they'll slowly but surely like give it to me where I reach out, but definitely that comfort at first where I do feel a little safe, where I'm like, okay, like these people care about me. They're reaching out to me, making sure I'm good. If I need anybody, stuff like that definitely helps for me to ask later on.
I agree. A pro tip to the leaders out there. That's something that I always try to do is, being the one to initiate the conversations first. And then it's like, hey, they've been around for a while. They know that we're here.
Yes.
Now, like, let's make this a two-way street. You know, it's just kind of like in any relationship. It's not just, hey, one person reaching out all the time. We need both. And then what about you, Belle? So being in multiple industries, like, what would be some piece of advice that you would give to someone who's looking into the door-to-door space?
Just do it. Like, the more you think about it is the more time you're taking away from something that could be such a great opportunity.
Yeah.
But you're second guessing yourself. You can't go and learn how to swim unless you get in the water.
Yes. Get in the water, ladies. Yes. What about on those days that are hard? Like, you know, those days where we're going hours and days without sets and appointments. Like, what are some things that you guys are doing to overcome those, like, dead times, the very slow days and things like that? Like, how are you guys navigating that?
Especially when it's a long day, definitely taking that like 10 to 15 mental break because it's very much needed, and just kind of reminding yourself why you're there at the end of the day, because you're not knocking doors completely for all those long hours for fun, right? There's a reason you're out there. So kind of just remembering your why and why I'm out here busting my ass and freaking all this long hours in this heat, right? It's not for no reason type of thing.
No, and I think that a lot of us, like, we look at taking a mental break as something negative, like, you know, taking some time away or whatnot. And I am going to be the first to say and promote, like, the minute that you feel like that you're going to be a negative Nancy or that things are like rough, it is going to be in your best interest to, yes, step away. If that means giving someone a call or talking to your mentor or sitting on the curb for 10, 15 minutes, but you've got to be aware of how long you're going to be sitting in that mental break. Like, we're not saying, hey, go take mental breaks for months, but it's definitely, like,
an hour later.
Yes,
no, definitely not.
Yes, definitely being aware. What about you, Belle?
Well, okay, so I actually had something that really like happened to me this last summer. My grandma actually passed away. And that was probably one of the hardest things, to be on the field and getting that phone call of being like, hey, like, this is what happened. And me, like, when I'm going through something super, super hard, I, like, want to distract myself as much as I can.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I texted my managers and I was like, hey, like, I don't think I'm going to work today. And I knew deep down that I was still going to work that day. Like, I knew it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I went out and I set a boundary for myself. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to knock this side of the street. And as soon as I finish this side of the street, I'm going to take a break.
Yeah.
And I did. And it was cool because I would knock that street and I got a set and then I'd go in my car and I literally would have a meltdown. And then I would get out of the car again and I'd be like, okay, I have 15 minutes to kind of get over this meltdown and get back out there and grind. And then I would go and knock the other side of the street, and the exact same thing. I'd set someone, I'd come back to the car, I'd just have a meltdown.
Yes,
and it happened
then get back out.
Yeah. And it literally happened like
familiar.
right?
Yeah.
And it happened like 4 times. And I got 4 sets that day. And even though it was like, okay, like I can only control what I put out.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so you're going to have those hard days. And even if you do need to take a day off or you need that time to cry, it's okay. You're not weak for having feelings. You're not weak for having emotions. Those are all important things. You just need to embrace them.
And no, and I love that you said that. Like, I want every woman out here in the door-to-door space to know that you aren't the only one. Yeah. There are plenty of people who have messed up relationship while knocking doors. There are plenty of people who have lost a loved one, while knocking doors. There are plenty of people who think that they're inadequate or they aren't they aren't good enough for the space. And I am going to be the first to tell you that if you don't show up for you, who else is going to do it? At the end of the day, just kind of like what Belle is saying, like, you're going to be having this meltdown and you're going to get out. I remember knocking doors when I was in pest control. I would set those goals on the very long days. I'm like, all I'm going to do is knock 20 doors. And at the end of 20 doors, I'm door dashing, a granola bar or whatever the heck. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go another hour. The more that we're taking the time to focus on the things that we can have control of, the better that our day is going to be. And so for those of you women out there who are struggling, for those of you women out there who are having a hard time on your team, who are going long hours and days with 0 deals or whatnot, just know that you're not alone. If you don't take the time to reach out via social media, or even to anyone on your team, just know that you don't have to suffer in silence.
And the hardest days pay off the most. Like, literally. They will be the best days.
It's always the last day, the last door.
Yes, no, literally. It's literally always the last door. I swear. Hard-ass day. The last doors might close.
Yeah, every single time. No, I love it. Like, thank you guys for taking the time just to kind of share some of your stories. But before we get off, if there's any piece of advice that you would give to anyone who's kind of looking into the space, what would be a word of advice or something that you guys want to end with?
I feel like, back to what Belle said, just do it, just try it, because there's literally nothing bad that can happen at all. Yeah. It's just worth it. It's worth a try, just to try it out at least.
And if people want to find you guys for community, for support and things like that, where can they find you?
Literally go to Instagram. We're always
Instagram
there.
Yeah, you're supposed to give your handles.
Oh, we're supposed to give our handles?
Yeah.
Okay. It's Belle1official_solar.
You're so official.
Mine is ADD_le. It's Adle. Right? So if you don't know how to say my name, it's on my Instagram. So don't mess it up.
Thank you guys for your guys' time. Again, for those of you women who are in this space, who are the only female on your team, know that those people are going to push you. Know that those men on your team, you're either going to pass them up or you're going to beat them. But either way, you don't have to do this alone. Find people via social media to reach out to. Find other people in other companies to be able to utilize as mentors and things like that. And take the time to actually have conversations with your own manager managers if you feel like you need help within your own space. Until next time, ladies, thanks for taking the time to tune in. If I've added any kind of value to your thoughts on knocking doors, please share this podcast with another female rep. Until next time, know that you are capable, you are valued, and most importantly, you are enough.